Good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? Happy Saturday morning to you. If it's your Saturday, I hope everybody's having a great day today. Welcome back to one of my live lessons. Fusa ohayo gozaimasu. How are you today? Long time no see. How are you? I'm excited. We're going to have a really good lesson today. I wasn't sure. I know I planned to do a lesson today, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it today because I've got a really bad eye infection and I've got a bad cold as well. But I really wanted to do this lesson. As you can see from the title of today's lesson is going to be WH questions with prepositions. WH questions with prepositions. Lama, long time no see. How are you? You're pretty good. That's great. That's great. What's new with you? So yes, today's lesson is going to be WH questions with prepositions. And it's going to be an interesting one because in today's lesson, we are going to be ending the questions in the prepositions. We will be ending these questions in prepositions, which is always a little bit, I think it feels strange for a lot of people to be ending that question like that. But that's what we will do. We'll learn how we can end a lesson in, or end a question in a preposition. So as always, with every lesson that I do, I'm going to put it onto the screen. And I am going to do that right now. Let me just open up my lesson. And I'm going to share it. At any point, if you have any questions about today's lesson, feel free to ask. If you want a copy of today's lesson, just let me know and I can provide you with a copy. So as you can see, here is today's lesson. Lama, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm kind of sick right now, but other than that, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And thank you for asking as well. Kaz, ohayo gozaimasu. How are you today? How are you today? So before we start with our WH questions, let's go over the first part of this lesson, which says pronunciation and slang. Pronunciation and slang. And the slang we're going to practice today is called piece of cake. Piece of cake. All right. Now, piece of cake has, of course, a regular meaning. The regular meaning, it means an actual cake. You know, it's a slice of cake. But we have a second meaning for piece of cake. Piece of cake has a slang meaning. So if we look at the sentence says, the project was a piece of cake. I was able to finish it really fast. The project was a piece of cake. I was able to finish it really fast. So the second meaning of piece of cake. Piece of cake has a second meaning, a slang meaning, and it means easy. Okay, so piece of cake means easy, easy. Something was very easy. So if I did a test, I'm taking a test. So after, maybe my mother, my father will ask me, how was the test? It was a piece of cake. It was easy. All right, so piece of cake has a second meaning, a slang meaning, and this means piece, this means easy. All right, so try to use that slang in your speaking in the future. Something is a piece of cake. All right, so next we are going to be looking at today's grammar. Today's grammar is WH questions. WH questions. It's very, very important that you are comfortable with using WH questions. In English, native speakers, we love to ask questions. We always love to ask questions. So it's important that you practice making them and answering them. Now, if we look at the screen is showing us a very, very common question pattern. Okay, so we've got pattern. The most common questions are going to follow this pattern. We are going to have a WH word. A WH word. WH word can be what, where, when, why, who, even how is considered a WH word. What kind, which, if I didn't say that already, whose, whom. These are all WH words. Now, generally, the WH question is going to follow WH, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb. Now, common auxiliary verbs. It's not always, but very common auxiliary verbs are going to be and have. Be and have. All right, so those are very, very common auxiliary verbs, be and have. We've got two example sentences or questions here. If we look right here, what is the boy doing? So I've got my auxiliary verb, be verb, then main verb doing. The second question, I've already made a mistake. This should be where. Okay. Where have you put the keys? Where have you put the keys? All right, so this is a second type of question. But today, this is not what we're going to study. Today, our focus is going to be on WH questions with prepositions. Now, sometimes, and if you look right here, it says sometimes WH words, WH question words, they become the object of the preposition. Now, this sounds quite difficult. What does that mean? An object of the preposition. So let's look at this. I'm trying to make the screen a little bit bigger so everybody can see it a little easier. HS, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you today? All right, so let's look here. I've got it a little bit bigger. So the WH word becomes the object of the preposition. Let's look at a question where we have the preposition at the end. So I've got the question, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? So here, what is the object of the preposition? So if you look next to it, it says, you are looking for something. You are looking for what? So if you notice, what becomes the object of this sentence. It becomes the object of the question. All right. A second example, what are you worrying about? Okay, same thing. You are worrying about what? You're worrying about something. You're worrying about what? Right? So here are two examples where the preposition will end the question. Now, don't worry. I'm going to give you some common prepositions that we use with WH questions. Before I do that, I do want to look right here. That's not a very good star. I do want to look right here. And right here, it says that the preposition usually comes together with the word in a regular sentence. So looking for, worrying about. In the question, we can put it at the end. Or if you want to speak very formal English, very, very polite formal English, then we can put the preposition at the very beginning. If you look at here, it says, which cupboard did you look in? In is at the end. Now, more formal is I move the in to the beginning. So I've got in which. Okay, I've got this sentence, in which. In which cupboard did you look? This is much more formal, but it's not very common in everyday English. But if you want to speak with more formality, then yeah, you can say, in which cupboard did you look? For what are you looking? All right, so it is possible to put these prepositions at the beginning. Now, let's look at some common prepositions. Let's look at some common prepositions. I've got them right here. Let's make them bigger. Let's make sure they all fit on the screen. All right, so these are common prepositions with WH. So who are you looking for? So looking for is very commonly used together. Laughing at. All right, we've got where from is very common. Where are you from? We've got interested in is very, very common. All right, we've got go with, especially if we have a who question, go with is very, very common. Who and with are very, very, very common. We often use them together. Talking about is very common. And then go to. Go to is also very, very common. All right, so these are just things you have to remember. There's no secret. There's no trick. You just have to remember these combinations. All right, we will practice them in today's lesson. So hopefully that will help you to remember. Now, one more thing. I want to talk about ending the questions with for or like. So for the very first one, what is it for? What is it for? So my question is, what, blah, 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 for? If we end the question in for, this is asking about the purpose of something. What is its purpose? For example, this right here. What is this used for? What's the purpose of this? Well, this is a remote control that controls my light. That's the purpose of it. Next, we've got what and like. So we've got what, blah, 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 like. What and like. All right, so if we end the question in like, basically we are asking about the personality of someone, or we want the description of someone or something. So what is he like? What is he like? I want to know his personality. He's friendly. He is nice. He is talkative. If we're talking about description, what is the movie like? What was the movie like? Well, it was boring. It was exciting. It was great. I want you to describe the movie. So please remember these two as well. What for and what like. So let's look at a quick little exercise. Let's move to our very first exercise of the day. The very first exercise is going to be, I'm going to give you a situation. It says number one, and number one says, a girl is searching for her socks. A girl is searching for her socks in the drawer. So she's searching. Her boyfriend sees her. The boyfriend doesn't know what she is doing. So the boyfriend will ask her a question. You know, he wants to know, you're searching, but he wants to know what for. What for? So the question, what is the question the boyfriend will ask? The question will be, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? For what are you looking? You could say, what are you searching for? That's fine. Looking for is more common. Okay, so next, I want everybody, if you know the answer, please leave it in the comment section. All right? A boy is gazing at the mountain. A boy is gazing at the mountain. Gazing means to use your eyes, and you're going to be look, right? You're looking. The girlfriend asks him a question. What does the girlfriend ask? And so maybe the girlfriend can see he is gazing, he's looking, but she doesn't know what. She doesn't know what he's looking. So the question would be, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? So looking for means you're searching. Looking at means you're gazing at something. All right, number 3. I made a mistake. Wow, many mistakes today. Sorry. This should be can't. A man can't understand what his friend is saying. I don't understand. He's going to ask a WH question. Here, the WH question would be, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Here, talk about is a combination I need you to remember. All right, and last one, we've got a boy. A boy is standing. He's standing, and it looks like he's waiting. But I don't know what or why. So my question here to that boy, maybe to my friend, would be, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? So the boy, of course, he's standing in front of a bus stop. I didn't notice it was a bus stop. So I asked, what are you waiting for? Well, his answer, I'm waiting for the bus. All right, so these are 4 kind of warm-up exercises. Next, we have another warm-up exercise. The next exercise we are going to do, it is unscramble the sentences. Unscramble the sentences. For instance, we've got number 1, it says work, you, who, with, do. Work, you, who, with, do. Your job is to unscramble this to make a WH question that ends in a preposition. So move the words around. So for me, work, you, who, with, do. my answer becomes, who do you work with? Who do you work with? Okay, so next, your turn. Number 2. Talking she about was what? Talking she about was what? Now, the easiest thing in this exercise is we know these are WH questions. We know these are WH questions. So that means the WH word is always going to come at the very beginning. That's all. It always means it comes at the beginning. All right. So, we can start right here with what. So remember, whenever we're making a question, we do want to have an auxiliary verb next. What was subject she talking about? What was she talking about? Okay, next. Number 3. Number 3 says, party the going to are you which? Unscramble this and make a question and make sure the preposition is at the end. We begin with the WH one. This one's a little bit tricky because I can see which is a WH word. But whenever we use the question word which, we will usually add a noun with that question word. We will add a noun. So here the noun is party. So they're going to go together. So my answer would be which party. All right, they go together. Which and a noun. Which party, auxiliary verb, are, subject, you, verb, main verb, going to. Which party are you going to? All right. Now, if you notice, I did add an extra word here. The. The is not needed. So I'm making it a little bit more difficult for you. So there are some words we don't need to add. All right. Number 4. Number 4. Come from, he, where, does. Come from, he, where, does. What is the unscrambled question? All right, so come from, he, where, does. Again, we start with the WH question. And then I can see preposition is from. I know that goes at the end. So my question would be, where does he come from? Where does he come from? Where does he come from means where is he from? Where is his home country or home city? All right, number 5. So I'm leaving the answer from the previous one on the screen, just so if you're writing things down at home, or if you want to take a screenshot, it's there. Number 5, listening to our song, you which. Good morning, Paramesh. How are you this morning? How are you? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well as well. Where does he come from? Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So we're doing question words that end in prepositions. So how about number 5, Paramesh, or HS, or Lama, or Kaz, or Fusa? Listening to our song, You Witch. So again, remember, we're going to always start this with the WH word, and with which, we'd like to add a noun with it. And then we're going to end in the preposition. So Paramesh, you have an answer here. Which song are you listening to? Which song are you listening to? Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And again, this is sometimes feels a little strange. A lot of times people don't like to end a question or a sentence with a preposition. And a lot of times people forget the preposition. But for these, we do need to end it with the preposition. So which song are you listening? A lot of times people they stop here. Which song are you listening? But we really need to add the to. We really need to add that to. Which song are you listening to? All right, next, number 6. Her looking for are they who? Good morning, Dio. Good morning. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Chaco, perfect. Which song are you listening to? Perfect. Dio, which song are you listening to? Perfect. Pramesh, yeah, I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking, buddy. Thank you for asking. What about number 6? Her looking for are they who? Her looking for are they who? So of course, we will always start with that WH question. Who? That's how we start it. And we do want to end it with a preposition. That's today's whole lesson is that. WH questions that end in prepositions. So if you look at this, number 6, I can see the preposition. The preposition is for. The preposition is for. And Yo has an answer here. Who are they looking for? Perfect. Who are they looking for? Now, again, as I said earlier in the lesson, if you wanted to make this very formal, we could switch the order and we put the preposition at the very beginning. So I could start it with for and the WH question. So I could go even super formal and say, instead of who, I could say whom. For whom are they looking? Same meaning, but the bottom one is very, very formal, very, very super formal. I would never speak like this, but some people do. And if you want to speak in a very formal way, in a very formal manner, then put the preposition at the beginning. Permesh, who are they looking for? Perfect. Number 7. Number 7 says, that package did come from where? That package did come from where? All right, so again, we're always going to be starting with the WH question at the very beginning. Paramesh, where did the package come from? Very, very good. Ooh. Where did the package come from? Now, a part of this exercise here of unscrambling things, perfect. Where did the package come from? This is not a difficult exercise because we know that it's going to begin with a WH word and it's going to end with a preposition. So this exercise is not that challenging. The main thing this exercise is doing, I hope it's creating kind of like a muscle memory, right? Muscle memory. So I want you to be able to remember combinations of words. So look for is a combination you need to remember. Look at, come from. So all of these that we're using, listen to, going to, talking about, these are all words that combinations you have to remember. And that's the purpose of this exercise, just creating that sort of muscle memory. All right, number 8, on stepping was she what? Perfect deal. Where did the package come from? So here, of course, we always start with what? We always want to start it with the WH word. And I can see the preposition is on. That comes at the very end. All right, so Paramesh, what was she stepping on? Perfect. What was she stepping on? Step on is a combination you have to remember. All right, we got a couple more, and then we're going to move to the next exercise. All right, so next we move to number 9. I can't keep number 8 on the screen. We've got talking they to were whom. Idio, you added an extra word. What was she stepping out on? Very good, very good. Now, out on, stepping on means your foot is on something. So you are standing on it, you're stepping on it. Kind of like a stair, you step on the stairs. Stepping out on, which Dio answered, is the thing that you're stepping on is away from your body. So your leg has to move out and then on something. So out and then on. All right, so next, number 9, we've got talking they to were whom. So pretty much you've got by whom. We don't need to put by here. If we want to use by, this is, I'm glad you put the word by here. And I'll put it at the very top. By is usually telling us the manner of how something is done. Okay, by is telling us the manner of how something is done. So by car, by foot. So if you want to say by, the question word would be who or how, sorry, how. Here, talking they to were whom, Easy one is whom were they talking to? Now, more formal is I move the two to the front. I move the two to the front. So then in that situation, the question would be, to whom were they talking? Yo, perfect. Who were they talking to? Good. And one more. Number 10. That book does belong shelf which to? That book does belong shelf which to? Now with which, in most cases, we're going to use which plus a noun. So which something, blah, 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 and then preposition. So here we've got two nouns. We've got book and we have shelf. So you have to choose the correct noun that goes with which. All right, so pretty much you got which book does belong to. Okay, that's a good guess. It's a good guess. After does, we need to have a subject. Which book does something? So you need to add a little bit more here, and it's not going to be which book. All right, Dio, we've got which bookshelf does she belong to? Okay, so bookshelf is a case. So she doesn't belong to the case. This is also good. So you put book and shelf with which. I'll give everybody a hint. When we're using which in this one, it's going to be which shelf. Which shelf? Then remember our pattern. You know, for any type of WH question, the pattern that we are going to be using is always going to be the WH word. We're gonna need an auxiliary verb. We're gonna need our subject, and then we're gonna need our main verb. And then today we're gonna be ending it in a preposition. So it is going to be looking like this: WH, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb, preposition. So I've got the WH, which shelf. Next, I need my auxiliary verb. All right, Paramesh, you're getting there. You're getting there. So which shelf does book belong to? Okay, there's a couple of words we can add here. So you have the right idea. You have the right idea. So you've got your WH word. You've added an auxiliary verb. Next, we need a subject. Let's put a one word before the subject. So you're right. You've got the right order. but there's one more word you're missing here, and we do need to add it. We need to clarify. So, which shelf does that book belong to? Which shelf does that book belong to? So we need to specify. We need to say, like, it's this book. There's maybe many books, so I need to show the book. So in this, it's going to be that book. Perfect. Which shelf does that book belong to? Now, this question is meaning, like, let's imagine we've got a bookshelf. There's lots, big bookshelf, and there are some books on the table. Now, my job is to put the books back on the shelf, but I don't know where their proper location is. I don't know where they belong. There are many shelves. I have a book. So which shelf does this book belong to? Okay, very, very, very good. Good job. So next, the final exercise. Here, we've practiced unscrambling things. Hopefully you remember words that go together. Talking to, belong to, talk about. These all go together. What we're going to do next, keep scrolling down, is I'm going to give you a sentence. For example, it says, Tom is laughing. Tom is laughing. So using this information, you're going to make a question that follows the pattern that you see on the screen. We're going to do a WH question, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb, and then a preposition at the end. Okay, so my question for this, Tom is laughing. Tom's laughing. Why? I want to know the reason. I want to know the reason, right? So maybe my question is going to be, what is Tom laughing at? What is Tom laughing about? Or sorry, what is Tom laughing at? Another question could have been, yeah, what is Tom laughing about? What is Tom laughing about? Maybe there's another question. I want to know, maybe Tom is laughing because someone did something. So who is Tom laughing at? All right, so we know laugh at, laugh about. These words go together. Okay, so let's look at number one. Number one, it says the girls are waiting at the lobby. The girls are waiting at the lobby. Let's imagine this is a office building. They're waiting at the lobby. And I'm going to help you with the first few. Number one, please make a who question. And I want you to end it with a preposition. Paramesh, with why, we don't need to have the preposition. Why is Tom laughing? If you're going to say at, we need to include the person. Why is Tom laughing at Bob? With why, we don't use a preposition at the end. So what about number one? The girls are waiting at the lobby. We're going to make a who question. Who is she waiting for? Perfect. There are girls, so who are would be better. But yeah, you got the right question word and preposition. That is perfect. Who are they waiting for? Who are they waiting for? Okay, wait for. Please remember that combination. Okay, so Paramesh, we want to know the person, who are, we need the subject, they, waiting, and then for. Who for is very, very common. Who and for. All right, what about number 2? Number 2, Bob is checking out the movies in the paper, in the newspaper. Then I want you to use what kind. So Bob is checking out the movies in the paper, and then we've got what kind. Paramesh, where are the girls waiting for? And then here we have to add the person. If it's going to be where are the girls waiting at? Where are the girls waiting in? Where at, where in goes together. Number 2, though, Bob is checking out the movies in the paper. What question could we do here? And I've got what kind. If you want to do a different question word, that's fine. Here I got what kind. What kind of movie will Bob go to? What kind of movie will Bob go to? Go to is very common. Number 3, Sarah's hometown is Vancouver. I like this. What kind of movie, no S, what kind of movie is Bob checking out in the paper? So we didn't end in the preposition because you added in the paper. But if you ended checking out, that would be okay. What kind of movie is Bob checking out? Question mark. That's perfect. Perfect question. All right, next, number 3. Yes, good job, Joe. Number 3, WH, auxiliary verb, subject, main verb, preposition. Sarah's hometown is Vancouver. Excuse me. We want to make a where question. And earlier we did talk about hometown, home city, home country. And we did look at a where question. So here, for me, Sarah's hometown is Vancouver. I want to know where. So my question would be, where is Sarah from? Where is Sarah from? Okay, where from is a combination you have to remember. Where from? Pretty much, where does Sarah live? That's a good question. If we wanted to add a preposition at the end, then it's where is Sarah from? Okay, next we've got Coyote bought a new computer to make websites. So I want to know the purpose. This is the answer. All right, so this is the answer. Coyote bought a new computer to make websites. This is the answer. So if I make a question and I don't know the answer, I want to know the purpose of this purchase. What would be my question? What is Sarah's hometown? Yeah, that would work. More common, though, if we want to know about hometown, the most common question is, where is Sarah from? You've got here, where does Sarah come from? That's also perfect. And I know I saw the correction. It's not, I know you got rid of the S. So where does Sarah come from? Perfect. That also works. So next one, number 4, we want to know the purpose of this purchase. Okay, so Paramesh, why Coyote bought a new computer? Don't forget, we need an auxiliary verb. So you've got why in subject. So I need to put the auxiliary verb. So we need to have the past tense auxiliary verb. Why did? Why did? So Paramesh, you could say, why did Coyote buy a new computer? Why did Coyote buy a new computer? All right. But today, hopefully, we want to try to practice ending the question in a preposition. Let's try to end that question in a preposition. So a lot of times, if you have a why question, if you want to ask why, then often we can change that. Not always, but we could use a different word for a why question. We could use what for. What for? Okay, so Paramesh, you got, why did Coyote buy a new computer? That's perfect. Yo, what is this computer for? That's good. What is this computer for? This computer is for making websites. Okay, another one we can say, another question very similar to those is maybe, what did she buy the new computer for? What did she buy the new computer for? The answer, to make websites. So here it's the same as, why did she buy the new computer? Why did she buy the new computer? We can change that to, what did she buy the new computer for? Excuse me. All right. Number 5, very similar one. Very similar one. We are going to use the brandy to make a dessert. So I want to know the purpose of the brandy. I want to know the purpose. What's the purpose of this brandy? So I want you to imagine your friend is cooking and you're looking at your friend cooking. They're at the kitchen counter and they're cooking, You see a bottle of brandy on the counter. You're like, whoa, wow, brandy. So you ask a question. You want to know the purpose of this brandy. Okay. Paramesh, why are you going to use the brandy? Perfect question. But now let's change it. So our preposition is at the end. Let's change it and change why to using what for. And I know, Dio, you probably hit enter too quick. But I think if I think you're writing what I think you're writing, then your answer is going to be right. All right, so you got, what is the brandy used for? This is going to be interesting. You're almost perfect. What is the brandy used for? In this situation, we're always going to be saying, if you're going to be using the word use, what is the brandy? It's always used. It's always going to be past tense, used for. If you wanted to do it even simpler, what is the brandy for? We don't have to say use. What is the brandy for? And then, Paramesh, yours would be, what are you going to use the brandy for? What are you going to use the brandy for? All of these have the exact same meaning. All of these have the exact same meaning. It's just different ways to make the same question. Yeah, so for example, again, remote control, right? This is a strange looking remote control, yeah? So a lot of people, when they come to my house, they always pick up the remote control and they say, hey, Shelly, what is this used for? What is this used for? Okay, we're going to do a couple more. We have to do a couple more, and then I need to go. I need to go to my school to teach some lessons, live, in-person lessons. So, number 6, Tom is smiling and very pleased. Tom is smiling and very pleased. I don't know. Tom's smiling, pleased. He looks very pleased. Tom's smiling. I'll ask Tom a question because it's strange. Tom's smiling. Tom's pleased. What question would I ask him? I might want to know the reason. Remember to use this grammar pattern. Tom is smiling and very pleased. So this one's going to be, a little bit more challenging than the ones we've done before. So I want you to make sure you end this question in a preposition. You're going to end this question in a preposition. And I will give everybody a hint. I'll give you the question word. The question word that I want you to use is what? The question word that I want you to use is what? All right, so I think it's quite common. We say, "Oh, Tom is smiling." So the very easy question is, "Why are you smiling, Tom? Why are you smiling? Why is Tom smiling?" That's a great question. Why is easy. We don't need a preposition, right? But if we use what, which is very common in spoken English, and perfect answer. What are you smiling about? Yeah, so if you're talking directly to Tom, you'd be like, what are you smiling about? What are you smiling about? Smile about. What and about go together. Okay, and let's do number 7. That'll be one more we'll do, and then I'll give people homework as well if they want to do at home, and you can leave all your answers in the comment section. Also, I forgot to say, anybody watching this on the replay, I hope you liked the lesson. Hope you like it so far. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right, number 7. I'm very busy today. I'm getting ready. I'm very busy today. I'm getting ready. Dio, so you've got a question. What if he is crying? Can we say, yeah, what are you crying about? Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Yes. That is a perfect question. So here, again, why? Before we sing like the purpose, it's what for. But also why can be what about. In fact, I've asked this question many times. What are you crying about? I have to deal with kids a lot. Sometimes kids cry. I often ask, what are you crying about? You are very welcome. All right, so number 7, I'm very busy today. I'm getting ready. What would be our question for number 7? And number 7 is the last one today. And I'll give you guys homework as well if you want to practice more. And again, this is easy if we just ask why. Why are you getting ready? But sometimes why just doesn't give me enough information. And I think maybe a WH question, other than why, maybe what question, and then ending in a preposition gives me more information in return. I'm being more specific in my question. So for me, what I would do for this one is, what are you getting ready for? What are you getting ready for? Here, why? Again, a lot of times, why we're not going to end with the preposition. Why are you busy at? Yeah, we're not going to really do why and then the preposition at the end. What are you getting ready for? I could say here, what are you busy with? What are you busy with? That would work as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scroll the screen up a little bit. And I'm going to show, I hope you can see 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10. So anybody who wants to practice more, if you want to practice more questions that end in a preposition, and I'm leaving the banner on the screen as well, I want you to try making questions for 8, 9, and 10. All right, make sure you're ending in a preposition. Make sure you start with the WH question. So anybody who wants extra practice, please try 8, 9, and 10. And of course, to check your answers, leave it in the comment section and I will check them for you. All right, so this is something really important. We really have to practice WH questions that end in prepositions. Sometimes it's not so natural for people learning English, but we do use it. So please practice this lesson, rewatch the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And in the meantime, I will be doing more live lessons next week. Again, another 3 live lessons next week. So possibly 2 only next week. We'll see. But definitely I will be having live lessons next week. Make sure you check out the schedule. I'll post my live lesson schedule on Sunday or Monday. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And if you did like it, hey, subscribe. Come join sort of my English lesson family. And I have lots of great content for you. But I'll see you guys all in the next lesson. See ya.